Ever catch yourself spiraling after a bad day, replaying conversations in your head, worrying about things you know you can't control? Yeah, me too. Maybe it's that message you never got back, that meeting that didn't go as planned, or just the quiet weight of life, feeling heavier than usual. But what if I told you there's an ancient way of thinking, quietly followed by emperors, writers, athletes, and warriors, that helps you stay steady, even when the world around you feels like it's spinning, not by pretending to be happy, not by escaping, but by returning to what truly matters. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 self-improvement rules every modern Stoic lives by, even if they never say it out loud. These aren't hacks. They're practices, ways of seeing the world that bring clarity, even when everything else feels uncertain. And if you're looking for a calmer, stronger, more grounded version of yourself, this is where you start. So if that resonates, take a breath, then hit subscribe to join a growing community that's choosing stillness over chaos, strength over reaction, and wisdom over noise. Let's begin. But before we begin, let me ask you something. How much of your day is spent reacting to headlines, to someone else's opinion, to the noise on your feed, or the weight of the world that's never been yours to carry? We wake up and reach for our phones like they hold the answers, but instead we find more confusion, more fear, more problems that were never meant to be ours. And it starts to feel like you're always behind, like peace is something you chase, but never quite catch. That's where the first rule comes in. Not a rule to obey, but a truth to remember. Protect your energy by focusing only on what is truly yours to hold. You can't control the next headline. You can't rewrite the past. You can't make people see you the way you want to be seen. And you certainly can't guarantee how tomorrow will unfold. But here's what you can control: how you respond, how you show up, what you choose to focus on the moment your feet hit the floor. The Stoics taught this thousands of years ago, that our suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from our judgment of them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Now pause. Really feel that. You have power over your mind. That means you have the power to protect your peace, to redirect your attention away from chaos and back to what you can shape. In today's world, it's easier than ever to fall into patterns of overthinking, scrolling, comparing, reacting. You read something online that makes your heart race. You hear someone else's anger, and suddenly it becomes yours. You get lost in someone else's fire, and forget that yours needs tending too. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Not everything needs your reaction. Not every opinion deserves your reply. Not every moment of outrage is your responsibility to carry. You don't need to be informed about everything, especially when staying informed means losing your peace. Let that sink in, because when you invest your time into things you can't shape, you deplete the energy you need for the things you can. And those things are simple, but powerful. Your morning habits, the food you nourish your body with, the way you breathe when the day feels too loud, the words you choose when you speak to yourself in quiet moments. This is where your power lives. Right here, in your breath, in your awareness, in your next decision. You don't need to carry the weight of the world. Just carry your part with care and attention. When the world pulls you toward noise, turn toward intention. When the chaos feels loud, choose stillness, not out of ignorance, but out of wisdom, because you are not here to react to everything. You are here to respond with presence, to plant seeds where others throw stones, to build habits that keep your peace protected, even when everything outside you feels uncertain. So the next time you feel your chest tighten after reading the news, the next time a comment online sends your mind racing, the next time you start overthinking what someone said or didn't say, pause, breathe, ask yourself gently, is this mine to hold? And if it's not, put it down, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom, because your peace is not a luxury. It is a daily practice, a choice, a quiet kind of strength. And it begins with this: control what you can, let go of what you can't. Let's move to the next rule. And this one, it's not easy to hear, but it just might change how you live. Memento mori. Remember you'll die. It sounds heavy. It might even sound harsh. But stay with me. Because this isn't about fear. It's about freedom. We live most of our lives like we're going to be here forever. We say later to the things that matter. We wait for the right time to speak up, to take the leap, to walk away, to begin living the way we always dreamed we would. We put our dreams on hold for jobs that drain us, relationships that shrink us, or expectations that were never ours to begin with. But here's the truth that Stoicism holds close. You don't have forever, and that's not something to run from. It's something to wake up to, because the moment you truly accept that this life has an end, you start to live like it has weight. You stop wasting time trying to please people who will never understand you. You stop bending yourself into shapes that don't fit. You stop waiting for some perfect moment that doesn't exist. And you realize, this is the moment. Now is the moment. When the Stoics said memento mori, they weren't trying to scare anyone. They were reminding us, let this knowledge guide you. Let it sharpen your attention. Let it strip away everything that doesn't truly matter. Because once you realize your time is finite, you stop trading it for things that don't matter. Look at your calendar, your conversations, your commitments. How much of it is aligned with who you really are? How much of your life is being lived for someone else's comfort? How many days have you spent chasing things you don't even want, just because you were told that's what success looks like? We don't need to be morbid. We just need to be honest. And the honest truth is this. Every day you wake up is a gift, and none of us are promised the next one. There are people who went to sleep last night, thinking they had more time to say what mattered, more time to change, more time to begin. But they didn't, and neither will we, eventually. So let that awareness liberate you. Let it give you the courage to stop saying someday. Let it remind you that you're not too late. You're just finally awake. If a job is crushing your spirit, leave it. If a relationship is rooted in fear, not love, walk away. If you've been quieting your voice to make others comfortable, speak. If you've been waiting for permission to be yourself, stop. Because there is no dress rehearsal. This is the real thing. And one day, you'll wish you had just one more Tuesday, one more chance to start fresh, one more hour to do what mattered. You have that chance now. So take it. Take the long walk. Make the phone call. Write the first page. Say what you've been holding in. Look in the mirror and say, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I still get to choose. And if that isn't sacred, what is? Memento mori isn't about living in fear. It's about refusing to live asleep. It's about honoring the time you've been given and refusing to give it away for anything less than meaning. So remember, you won't be here forever, and that's exactly why today matters so much. Let's keep going, because this next rule, it's not loud. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't demand attention. And yet, it might just be one of the most powerful shifts you'll ever make. Silence is strength. We live in a world where noise is constant. Opinions fly at us like arrows. Every scroll, every swipe, another headline, another reaction, another person yelling into the void. And the pressure? It's real. To speak up, to respond, to prove that you're aware, awake, informed, correct. We've been led to believe that being vocal equals being strong, that silence equals weakness. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that silence, true silence, is not the absence of voice. It's the presence of peace. You don't need to share your every thought. You don't need to weigh in on every debate. You don't need to constantly prove you're right, or smart, or good. Because deep strength doesn't come from always being heard. It comes from knowing that you don't have to be. You've probably felt it before. That quiet moment after someone says something unkind. And instead of reacting, you breathe. You stay still. You let the silence carry your answer. Not because you didn't have something to say, but because you didn't need to say it. That's not weakness. That's power. We live in a culture of instant reactions. But Stoicism invites us to respond, not react. To listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. To notice when we're speaking from ego, from anger, from fear. And to ask, is this worth my energy? Silence doesn't mean you're disengaged. It means you're discerning. It means you don't waste words. You let them mean something. Think about it. Who do you trust more? The person who talks constantly, or the one who speaks only when it matters? The one who always has to be right, or the one who knows when to walk away? In silence, there's clarity. In silence, there's time to think, to feel, to choose. And in a world shouting over itself, the one who can stay quiet often becomes the one who's most respected. You don't need to post about every success. You don't need to argue every disagreement. You don't need to explain your every move to people who never really knew you in the first place. When you know who you are, you don't need to announce it. Your actions speak. Your presence speaks. Your peace speaks. Some things are stronger left unsaid. Some arguments are won simply by not showing up. Some storms pass quicker when you don't stand in the rain yelling at the clouds. And here's something most people forget. You don't owe anyone your reaction. Silence is not submission. It's control. And in that stillness, you become harder to shake, harder to read, harder to manipulate. So the next time you feel the pull to prove yourself, pause. Let the moment pass. Let the noise fade. And ask yourself, does this serve me? Or does it just drain me? Because every word you speak costs energy, and you only have so much. Choose carefully. Use silence as your armor. Use it to reflect, to listen, to understand. Use it to protect your peace, to reset your nervous system, to remind yourself that you are not here to win the internet. You are here to live a meaningful life. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let's keep going, because if you've ever been knocked down, if you've ever sat alone wondering why something didn't work out, if you've ever whispered, "Why me?" into the quiet of your room, then this one is especially for you. Turn obstacles into opportunities. There's a moment, that moment when something doesn't go as planned. The job falls through. The person walks away. The door you were counting on suddenly shuts in your face. You stand there, staring at the closed door, feeling the sting, the confusion, the unfairness, and your mind begins to race. What now? What did I do wrong? Why is this happening to me? It's human. We all feel it. But then there's a pause, a breath, and a chance to choose something different. You see, the Stoics believed that the obstacle is the way, not the end of the path, not the mistake, but the very material the path is made from. Every difficulty, it's not there to stop you. It's there to shape you. It's life's way of asking, how will you respond now? You didn't get the role. Now you have space to build your own. Someone left you behind. Now you have the clarity to walk toward people who truly see you. Lost your footing? Now you can learn to balance without the things you thought you needed. This isn't the end. It's the invitation. What if rejection wasn't personal, just redirection? What if loss wasn't punishment, just pruning? What if everything that feels like a setback is actually preparation? We don't always get to control what happens, but we do get to choose how we meet it. Will we panic, or will we pause? Will we complain, or will we construct something new? Will we become bitter, or better? The Stoics trained their minds like warriors, not to avoid hardship, but to meet it with discipline, perspective, and grace. To say, this pain, it's teaching me something. This delay, maybe it's protection. This heartbreak, it's breaking me open to something more honest. And in time, you start to look back on all the things you thought were falling apart, and you realize they were falling into place. The betrayal that made you braver, the failure that forced you to focus, the silence that taught you to hear your own voice again. This is your growth phase. This is your training ground. This is life putting pressure on your spirit, not to break you, but to forge you. No one becomes resilient by skating through easy days. We become resilient in the slow rebuild after everything changes, in the moments we keep walking, when no one is clapping, when nothing is certain, when it would be easier to give up, but something in us whispers, keep going. And so you do. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And instead ask, what is this preparing me for? You stop staring at the closed door and turn around to notice there's light streaming in from a window you never saw before. You start to realize, maybe life didn't go wrong. Maybe it just went real. Maybe this is the version of your story, where the main character finally steps into their own power. So, whatever you're facing right now, the loss, the pause, the change, don't resist it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Grow through it. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not off track. You are being rebuilt into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you were before. And when the dust settles, you'll be thankful, not because it was easy, but because it shaped you into someone who no longer fears the storm. Because you now know, every obstacle can become the raw material for greatness, if you let it. Let's keep going, because in a world that never stops shouting, learning to listen, really listen, has become a revolutionary act. Declutter your mind and life. Have you ever sat in silence and realized just how loud your mind has become? You wake up, and your first instinct is to reach for your phone, for your inbox, for your feed. You scroll, tap, swipe, before you've even taken your first breath of the day. And suddenly, you're carrying the weight of 10 opinions, 5 notifications, 3 breaking news stories, before you've even brushed your teeth. It's no wonder you feel overwhelmed. It's no wonder your focus slips, your energy scatters, your peace feels far away. But what if the problem isn't that you're broken? What if it's that you've never been taught to protect your space? What if your mind is simply overloaded, cluttered with more than it was ever designed to carry? The Stoics spoke often about simplicity. They prized clarity of thought, purity of intention, quiet action. They understood that the world is already complex, so the self must remain clear. Today, that wisdom is more relevant than ever. We live in the age of infinite inputs, more messages, more content, more alerts, more everything. And yet, we feel less connected, less focused, less at peace. Because here's the truth. Your attention is your most precious resource, and what you let in shapes what comes out. If you feed your mind junk, outrage, distraction, noise, you will live in a constant state of reaction. But if you curate what you consume, if you protect your inner space, you can begin to reclaim your calm. This isn't about becoming a monk. It's about becoming deliberate. It's asking, do I really need to check the news again? Do I really need another opinion on how I should live? Do I really need to reply to every message right now? Digital minimalism isn't a trend. It's a necessity. Because your mind isn't an open field, it's a garden. And what grows there depends on what you plant. So clean it up. Curate it. Unfollow what drains you. Mute what distracts you. Step away from apps that demand more than they give. Not because you're fragile, but because you are finally taking your power back. And it's not just digital. Look around your space. Is your room filled with things you never use? Is your schedule packed with obligations that don't align with who you are? Your environment reflects your mind, and your mind reflects your environment. Start small. Clear a drawer. Cancel a meeting that adds no value. Say no to one thing this week that doesn't align with your deeper goals. You'll notice something magical happens. In the empty space you create, peace rushes in. Focus sharpens. You start hearing your own voice again. Not the voice of the algorithm. Not the voice of the critic. Not the voice of comparison. But your voice. The one that knows what truly matters. The one that doesn't need to be loud to be wise. The one that's been waiting patiently beneath all the noise. You don't need more apps. You don't need more hacks. You need less of what's never served you, and more of what brings you back to yourself. The Stoics believed that clarity wasn't found in more. It was found in less. Less distraction. Less worry. Less chaos. That's how you make room for what matters. Stillness. Purpose. Presence. So today, let it be simple. One less thing on your to-do list. One less screen before bed. One moment of quiet without filling it. Protect your focus. Because your focus is your freedom. The world will always be loud, but you don't have to be lost in it. You can choose peace. You can choose presence. You can choose to come home to your own mind and finally find space to breathe again. Let's keep going, because real strength isn't loud. It's steady. It's knowing who you are, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. Live by values, not vibes. We live in an era where feelings have become the compass. If it feels good, it must be right. If it's trending, it must be true. If everyone's doing it, then maybe I should too. But here's the thing about feelings. They're fleeting. One minute you're motivated, the next you're drained. One moment you're confident, then suddenly doubt creeps in. And if you let your mood be the driver, your direction will always shift with the wind. That's not freedom. That's instability dressed up as self-expression. What if instead of chasing vibes, you anchored yourself in something deeper? The Stoics knew the difference between emotion and intention. They didn't ignore feelings, but they didn't worship them either. They chose to live by principles, because values don't change when the weather does. They don't vanish on hard days. They hold steady. They remind you of who you are, even when you forget. So ask yourself, what do you stand for? Not what's convenient, not what looks good on a profile, not what's easy to say when others are watching, but what truly matters to you. Is it integrity, courage, compassion, discipline? Write them down. Define them. Let them become your North Star. Because when the world starts pulling you in 100 directions, when opinions clash, trends shift, and people project their fears onto you, your values will be the ground beneath your feet. You'll say no to things that others chase. You'll stay quiet when others react. You'll keep building when others quit. Because your choices won't be based on moods. They'll be based on meaning. Living by values doesn't mean you won't feel lost sometimes. It doesn't mean you'll always know what to do. But it does mean you'll have a compass. A quiet, inner certainty that says, this is right. This is me. I don't need to prove it. I just need to live it. And yes, sometimes that path is quieter. Sometimes it looks less impressive from the outside. But it's the path that leads to peace, to purpose, to a life that makes sense not just in the moment, but in the long run. You don't have to follow the crowd. You don't have to chase every feeling that passes through. You just need to return to your center, again and again. So the next time you feel scattered, when the mood dips or the noise gets loud, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be right now? And let that answer, not your emotions, shape your next step. Because there's power in consistency. There's beauty in being grounded. There's peace in knowing that even when everything else shifts, you don't. Live by values, not by vibes, not by pressure, not by whatever happens to be trending today. You don't need to feel amazing to do what matters. You don't need the perfect mood to show up as your best self. You just need to remember what matters most and act on it again and again and again. That's what builds character. That's what creates trust. That's what shapes a life you can be proud of. Not the quick feelings, but the quiet choices. And now, we arrive at something most people run from, but the Stoic embraces it. Practice voluntary discomfort. In a world where comfort is king, challenge becomes your greatest teacher. Think about how life is designed today. Food arrives at your door with a few taps. Entertainment streams instantly. Answers are a search bar away. Climate-controlled, convenience-driven, constantly connected. We've engineered out nearly all friction. But here's the thing. Ease doesn't always equal strength. Comfort doesn't build character. And convenience doesn't train courage. The Stoics understood something we often forget. If you never choose discomfort, life will choose it for you. Not because it's cruel, but because challenge is nature's way of shaping us. So instead of waiting for pain to catch you off guard, step into it willingly. Wake up early. Take the cold shower. Fast for a day. Put your phone down. Say no to the thing that numbs you, and yes to the thing that strengthens you. These are small things, but they teach a big lesson. You are capable of doing hard things on purpose. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop fearing discomfort. You stop avoiding the edges. You stop thinking, what if I can't handle it? Because you know you can. That voluntary hardship becomes armor. Not the kind that hides you, but the kind that prepares you. It's not about punishment. It's about presence. It's about reminding yourself that comfort is nice, but it's not necessary. And sometimes, it's even the thing holding you back. You grow when you stretch. You transform when you challenge your limits. Not when everything feels good, but when it doesn't, and you keep going anyway. So don't wait for the storm to show up. Train before it does. Choose the hill before you're forced to climb one. And no, it won't always be dramatic. It might be choosing the stairs instead of the elevator, cooking instead of ordering in, sitting in silence instead of scrolling for noise. These choices seem small, but each one is a quiet vote for the person you're becoming. Resilient, grounded, focused, free. There's something deeply fulfilling about knowing you can endure. That when life asks more of you, you won't collapse. Because you've practiced, you've prepared, you've chosen discomfort when you didn't have to. And that's the essence of self-mastery. Not waiting until you have to grow, but choosing to grow before you're asked. Not waiting for life to humble you, but humbling yourself, one choice at a time. In doing this, you don't just survive hard times. You step into them with clarity, with calm, with courage, and in the process, you become the kind of person others can lean on. Not because you're invincible, but because you've trained your heart to be steady, even when things aren't easy. So start now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. What's one small thing you can do today that stretches you, that tests your edge, that reminds you of what you're made of? It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be intentional, because discomfort is not the enemy. It's the doorway to grit, to discipline, to strength you didn't know you had. And if you walk through it often enough, that strength becomes who you are. So now we've come full circle. 7 rules, 7 shifts, each one a challenge to the way the world tells you to live. Each one a doorway to something deeper, stronger, more grounded. You've just walked through ideas that aren't popular. They don't trend. They don't flash across your screen in neon colors. They don't promise you a shortcut or a life without struggle. But they do offer something else. They offer ownership. Because when you choose to control what you can, when you remember that your time here is finite, when you hold your words like a sword still in a sheath, when you take setbacks and forge something greater from them, when you clear the clutter inside and out, when you live by values, even when the world runs on vibes, and when you step into discomfort by choice, you are no longer a passenger in your life. You are at the helm, in a world built to distract you, to exhaust you, to sell you versions of happiness that never last. Choosing this path isn't easy. It's a quiet rebellion. It's turning inward when the noise outside is screaming. It's saying, I will not be moved by every opinion, every trend, every fear. These rules are not just thoughts to admire. They are practices to live. They are tools for building a self that doesn't crumble every time life throws a punch. They are reminders that peace isn't found by chasing. It's created by choosing. Again and again, every day, you are presented with the chance to show up differently. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't have to be fearless or flawless. You just have to begin. And if this video gave you even one moment of clarity, 1 second where you paused, breathed, and saw things a little more clearly, then hold on to that. That's not just inspiration. That's your signal to go deeper, to go further, to go inward. So hit that like button if you felt it. Subscribe if you're ready to build a calmer, stronger, more unshakable version of you, one Stoic rule at a time. This isn't a trend. This isn't a phase. This is a way of being. And remember, the obstacle is not in your way. It is the way. See you in the next one, fellow Stoic. Stay steady, stay grounded, and never forget, you were made for this.